many weeks has now been reopened. Northern Pacific Coffee Company.
You need to stop.
Oh, sorry.
Go. Let's do hello, Lutz.
Hello, Lutz. I'm Roselle Rosales, and welcome to News at 9. What was closed for many weeks has now been reopened. Northern Pacific Coffee Company, NPCC, a favorite of many Lutz for quite some time, has reopened under new ownership. Maddie Bernard reports with more.
NPCC is back and better than ever. The quaint coffee shop on Garfield Street reopened on January 18th under the new management of Wes Johnson. Owner of the Parkland Community Health Center, Sarah Schofield, bought the business when it was floundering and appointed Johnson as manager. NPCC holds a special place in Johnson's heart, and he was pleased with the public's reaction of the reopening.
Everyone is really excited about it, and then they all came in and were like, wow, this place looks great.
Yeah.
Everything, I mean, we have a brand new counter, we redid the floors, you know, sort of cleared out a lot of the clutter and a lot of the stuff that was taking up space. We got a bunch of new chalkboards, lots of new art. Yeah, everybody seems to be really excited about it.
Johnson loves pouring espresso and is passionate about running the coffee shop. He believes NPCC is a vital piece of the Parkland community.
I mean, I've lived in Tacoma my whole life, and there's places always seem to come and go, but the keepers are, you know, they become fixtures in the community, and it's sort of the community living room.
Reporting from the Mast, I'm Maddie Bernard.
Go check out the new and improved NPCC when you get the chance. You can even swing by for their weekly open mic nights after News at 9 tonight. The biggest sporting event of the year, the Super Bowl, came and went 2 weeks ago. And as always, viewers had much more to focus on than the actual game. Molly Undahl spoke with some Lutz about this year's Super Bowl commercials.
I personally enjoyed the Hyundai commercial with Kevin Hart in it because it was funny, it made me laugh, and it also delivered a message that was easy to understand.
My favorite Super Bowl commercial would probably be the Heinz Wiener Dog commercial. It was just really cute, and I think they appeal to emotion, but as did all the other Super Bowl commercials, so it was just another commercial to me.
My favorite Super Bowl commercial is probably the Super Bowl baby commercial. So they had all the kids who were born like 9 months after the Super Bowl singing a song together.
There is one commercial that I cannot get out of my mind that showed during the Super Bowl, and it's this one with wiener dogs, and you think, okay, wiener dogs already, they have my heart.
Favorite Super Bowl commercial? Well, not necessarily my favorite, but I guess the most memorable was the Doritos commercial with the baby coming out of the womb to take the Doritos chip from the dad. That was just like, it wasn't necessarily my favorite, but it was kind of weird, and it definitely caught my attention. And I think that's definitely what the Super Bowl commercials try to do, is grab your attention and make their commercials memorable, and they definitely succeeded at that. So
personally, I like the Snickers commercial best because it's funny. It says that you're not you when you're hungry, so Snickers basically wants you to buy their chocolate whenever you're hungry. I think it's funny because it's true. I tend to get a bit grumpy whenever I'm hungry, so I can buy Snickers.
It's just kind of funny because like these kids were conceived on like Super Bowl day.
I don't really think that they should be advertising Super Bowl means sex, but you know what? If that's what works for you, that's fine.
The Wiener Dog hot dogs are running across a field, free, freedom, America, Super Bowl, and they're running into the arms of their humans, and the humans are dressed up like condiments. There's all this like ketchup and mustard, and it doesn't really make sense, but at the same time, there's togetherness, there's order, and ultimately, there's love, all because of a couple of hot dogs. So it's pretty great.
If you had a favorite commercial from Super Bowl 50, join the conversation and tweet us at PLUMast. Nobel Peace Prize nominee Steinar Bryn visited PLU's Scandinavian Cultural Center this evening to discuss his peace-building work in Norway. Bryn, who has also taught communication courses at PLU in the past, discussed his experiences as a dialogue facilitator in some of Europe's most conflict-ridden areas. It's February, which means it's Black History Month. Even though we're already halfway through, there is still plenty of events over the next 2 weeks that are worth attending. Swing by the D Center next Thursday, the 25th, for a discussion on the evolution of hip-hop at 7 p.m., and then come to the Cave the following night at 7 for a hip-hop dance. The Black Student Union will also be hosting a movie discussion of Ni Wakati this Friday, followed by a discussion of Straight Outta Compton the following Friday, both at 7 p.m. But Lutes know that February isn't the only month to support America's minorities. Students enrolled in the J-Term history class, Fighting Racism in the United States, to join students from Lincoln High School in critical discussions on institutionalized racism and how to confront it. Students aren't the only ones fighting racism at PLU. Melanie Cunningham sat down with MastTV's Jenny Boots to discuss her upcoming university race assessment.
This is Melanie Cunningham, Director of Multicultural Recruitment for PLU, and this spring, Cunningham is beginning a university-wide assessment about students of color at PLU.
I'm working on what's called the Multicultural Recruitment and Success Initiative. So right now my job is focused, normally it's been focused on just recruitment, but I'm looking at additional elements that include the persistence of students of color, the retention of students of color, and the graduation of students of color. So if we put that all together, what has the success or not of the university efforts been in those areas?
Cunningham says these efforts are hopeful, but there is room to grow.
I think I found some research where we had over 130 black students in the 70s, and so we haven't broken the 100 barrier yet, but we'll get there.
In 2015, only 27.8% of PLU students identified as students of color. Cunningham hopes to address this and issues of greater diversity on campus.
The mere fact that we're talking about it is a huge step, because there still remains this level of discomfort when we talk about issues of race and ethnicity, and even deeper into diversity when we talk about transgender and queer, and when we bring up anything that's different, there's just this level of discomfort that we really have to get over.
Cunningham will begin interviews for the assessment next week, but until then, she has a message for all PLU students.
I want PLU students to recognize that this whole conversation about race is one that they must engage themselves in. It's not just for the students of color to engage in. It's everyone's conversation. And dialogue increases understanding. So if it's uncomfortable, or if you don't even feel like you have anything to do with this and you shouldn't, why are we even bothering about this? There's no racism. I'm going to challenge you to say, that's not true, and sit down, be quiet, and listen.
This has been Jenny Boots for MastTV.
The assessment is expected to take all of spring semester, and we will be looking forward to seeing what Melanie uncovers. And finally, many Lutes are entering their final semester at PLU. Some are first-generation students, which means that they are the first person in their family to go to college and to get a degree. Others are Running Start students who took college classes prior to enrolling at PLU in order to graduate early. Not many students are both, except for Ian Smith, who sat down with the Mast to talk about his busy and unusual journey.
Being Running Start, obviously my time here is kind of expedited, and that means that my workload just is a little bit more, because now I have to come to a university level in junior standing, and the professors aren't going to make it easier for me, which I appreciate because I like the challenge. Being in my internship class and my capstone class that are with people who are seniors and people who have been here a couple years longer than I have. It's intimidating at first, but as soon as I get in there, I recognize that all these people are doing the same thing that I'm doing. They're going to school and they just want to make it, and they just want to be successful in a lot of ways. Being an RA, definitely there's a lot of shifts that have had to have been made from last year being a first year myself, but also have junior standing. But a lot of the same principles of being intentional and just being mindful of my time and organizing my schedule well, those things have stayed consistent and those things have stayed the same. And honestly, a lot of that has really increased and really heightened because of senior standing and being an RA. It was all about just being intentional with the way that I said hi to people, with the way that I smiled to people, with just talking, getting out of my comfort zone, and really kind of putting myself out there. And I think that's something that scares a lot of Running Start students, because now you're coming into junior standing and these people have known each other for years, and some of them might have even known each other longer because they came from high school together. But being willing to be intentional and putting yourself out there really has made the difference for me.
Up next on News at 9, we've got Taryn's Take for February, a look at J-Term in London, and the monologues. All that and more next on News at 9.
This is the moment I knew. His future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Welcome back, Lutz. Tonight we will get an inside sneak peek of everything pop culture, including Lady Gaga's next album and a recap of the monologues from last weekend. I'm Paris Franklin, and this is News at 9. This has been a busy month for pop culture with the Grammys, the release of several albums, and more. Let's see what Taryn has to say.
The past month, partially due to the Grammy Awards, has been a huge time for music, with big events coming from Kanye West, Lady Gaga, and more. This has been an extremely exciting time, so let's get to it. I'm Taryn Warden, and this is Taryn's Take. Over the past month, Kanye West has been working on the release of his new album, but also having a basically month-long Twitter rant. His erratic and disturbing behavior began when he decided to change his album's name from Swish to Waves. Rapper Wiz Khalifa tweeted against the title Waves, claiming Kanye's music is not wavy. He also had it hit this KK, which Kanye misunderstood for his wife, Kim Kardashian. But Wiz was really talking about marijuana. From that, Kanye went on an over 30-tweet rant that included digs at Wiz's music, his son, with Kanye's ex-girlfriend Amber Rose, and added that he wishes he was tall and skinny like Wiz. While it was already exciting, that was not the end. Amber Rose fired back at Kanye, who dissed her, as well as her son, insinuating some TMI details I will not disturb you with. Kanye waited nearly 36 hours to deny her claims and later apologized for speaking about someone else's child and deleted the tweets. After releasing his album, which was changed again to be called The Life of Pablo, Kanye spent Valentine's Day with another disturbingly erratic rant, this time partially to Mark Zuckerberg, creator of Facebook. Kanye started the rant about being $53 million in what he called personal debt, then begged Zuckerberg to invest $1 billion into his ideas, then said he was practicing his Grammy speech for the Album of the Year despite not having the nomination. Kanye ended by saying he will have over 100 Grammys when he dies, and he's proud of his debt because he was true to his musical mission. He ranted again during the Grammy Awards about white reporters and black music, but in the end, his album, The Life of Pablo, is out now, available for streaming on Tidal, and will be sold next week. In music news not involving Kanye West, Rihanna finally released her 8th album. Anti is her first work since 2012 and is charting around the world. The boys of One Direction had been busy after ending their work together. Zayn Malik, who left the band, released his first solo single, Pillow Talk, and is working on his second now. Louis Tomlinson and his ex-girlfriend welcomed their first child, a son named Freddie Rain, and Harry Styles, who became the band's frontman, split from One Direction's management to go solo in the near future. Lady Gaga has been extremely busy this month. After winning her first Golden Globe, Lady Gaga opened the 50th Super Bowl with the national anthem, followed by a David Bowie tribute at the Grammys. Lady Gaga's tribute was the culmination of her collaboration with Intel that combined technology with creativity and spanned through Bowie's nearly 50-year-long career. It was truly one of the best things I have ever seen, and I am still not over it. On top of that, Lady Gaga will be performing at the Oscars at the end of February, and here's a Terrence Take Insider. When the DJ and producer Madian came to town a few weeks ago, he gave me some details into Lady Gaga's next album, set to be released this year. Madian produced on her last album and said that he will not be a part of her next because she's going in a completely different direction, which I feel may be Bowie inspired. Lastly, the Grammys were held this Monday with big winners of Kendrick Lamar, Meghan Trainor, and Taylor Swift. Finally, love and relationship news. The most controversial news came from the Kardashians' younger brother, Rob. After being hospitalized and diagnosed with diabetes, Rob confirmed his relationship with model Blac Chyna. Blac Chyna is Amber Rose's best friend, which means the Kardashian family is not a fan of hers. Blac Chyna was also rapper Tyga's girlfriend, who she had her son, King Cairo, with, and Tyga is currently dating Rob Kardashian's baby sister, Kylie Jenner. The family is allegedly very upset by the new relationship. And following their new relationship, Blac Chyna was arrested in Austin for drunken disorderly conduct on an airplane prior to liftoff. Rob drove 22 hours straight and bailed his new love out of jail. Mind you, Kim could not even get Rob to leave his house for her wedding. And finally, Lamar Odom has made his first public appearance since his incident at a Las Vegas brothel we reported a few months ago. At the brothel, Lamar was found unconscious. But Lamar attended the Yeezy Season 3 fashion show, which is Kanye West's fashion line, with his estranged wife, Khloe Kardashian. The couple looked truly happy and healthy, and we're all happy for them. Again, the past month was an extremely exciting time in pop culture. Be sure to follow Terrence Take on Twitter for hundreds of other stories, and back to you.
Thank you, Taryn. If you are looking for entertainment, all you need is popcorn and to follow Kanye West on Twitter. Most Lutes just got back from being away over J-term. Some students went home for the month, and some students went to London. We had a chance to see a sneak peek of the London Communication Study Abroad class. Let's take a look. If you're interested in studying abroad in London next J-term with a communication course, there will be an informational meeting this Sunday in AUC 133 at 1 p.m. There will be tea and scones to follow. Last Thursday and Friday were the monologues. If you couldn't make it, we have an insider look for you here.
A familiar PLU tradition changed its anatomy this year when the monologues premiered as a fresher, more interactive take on the famous Vagina Monologues play.
This new feminism is one that loves the earth and the life that it gives. We respect that which is taken from it.
Written and produced by Eve Ensler in 1996, the Vagina Monologues is a political commentary on issues of women's health and sexuality.
I discovered how deeply excited I became when other women moaned.
Unlike previous years, the newly named monologues twist the traditional format of the original episodic performance by incorporating student-written content.
It was gross and sweaty, and it wasn't from how hot and sensual it was from the sheer frustration of trying to figure out how to put it in.
These student-written monologues offer first-hand perspectives on issues that plague female lutes both on campus and in everyday life.
Girls like me are just too different, and that makes us not human. Girls like me are too innocent, like children, cute, and never sexy.
The decision to reinvent the show was a collaborative effort between student directors and was aimed at broadening perspectives presented in the play, as well as providing a safe place for female lutes to share their own personal stories on topics of sex, sexuality, and womanhood.
We spend a lot of time telling the same stories over and over again that aren't incredibly diverse. So we wanted this year to take the very diverse women of PLU's campus and try and tell their stories instead for a change. It's been a very liberating experience for a lot of women to get to tell their story and to be that voice that then other people can listen to and say, okay, I can talk about my experience.
This is Brooke Timms reporting for Mass Media.
If you were able to make it to the monologues, we would love to know what you thought. Tweet us at PLUMast. Last week, we kicked off the new Lute Air student radio series called Sunday Sesh. This series will take place on Sundays and feature a live studio performance from PLU students and local artists. Last week's performance was by Plutonic, PLU's men's a cappella group. This was a great kickoff for the Laser series and to prepare for the International Championship of Collegiate A Cappella. The regionals quarterfinals took place on campus last weekend. Plutonic placed third and took home 2 special awards, Josh Bozich for Best Arrangement for the entire set, and Michael Greer and Tyler Dobies for Best Choreography. Harmonic also had a great performance. Congratulations, Lutes. Up next, Dylan takes us through all things sports, including the Swim Northwest Conference competition, basketball, and more. Thank you, Lutes. I'm Paris Franklin, and this is News at 9.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Find fun activities to do, like boating and biking, or camping and hiking, plus much more. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back to News at 9. I'm Dylan Foreman, and welcome to sports. The women's swim team wrapped up their season by winning a third consecutive Northwest Conference title, blowing the competition out of the water by over 300 points. The Lutes won 12 out of 18 events, including all 5 relays. Moeller and Weeks set new conference records while both hitting the mark to be NCAA B qualifiers. Men's swimming had powerful performances by Hunter Cosgrove and Bradley Jerome, bringing the team to a solid third place behind Whitworth and Whitman. PLU men's basketball is currently riding a 5-game win streak, including 2 very close games this past weekend over Pacific and Lewis and Clark. With those wins, they officially clinched their spot in the Northwest Conference tournament for the first time in 5 years. They wrap up their final 2 games of the season against 2 top 10 nationally ranked teams this weekend. Also, the women's basketball team just wrapped up a weekend in Oregon, beating both Lewis and Clark and Pacific to bring their win streak to 3 games, closing out this weekend with 2 home games, including senior night Saturday at 4 against Whitworth. Men's baseball is back from Arizona after going 3-1 in a few non-conference games, including a shellacking of Redlands 23-14. They begin conference play this Saturday with a doubleheader at home against Willamette. Game times are scheduled for 11 and 2. Softball is off to a phenomenal start, going 8-2 and currently on a 7-game win streak. Lutes went to Texas at the start of the year and had a few juggernaut matchups with the 1st and 5th ranked teams in the country. MastTV spoke with head coach Lance Glasso and starting pitcher Marissa Miller to get their thoughts about the start of the season and the recent road trip.
It was a good week. I think anytime in this time of the year when you're playing pretty early in the year, it's a lot of things you're not real sure about heading out on a trip like this. But for a 6-day trip and played in some good weather, and the team got on the field for the first time in a while. We didn't get to spend a lot of time on the dirt here before we left. It was a pretty good experience for us. We're still a pretty young team, so anytime we get on the road and kind of spend some time together, I think is pretty beneficial for us.
And especially having all those young players and having great at-bats and scoring lots of runs was really positive, looking for the future.
Played the number 1 team in the country, played the number 5 team in the country, and then played a couple teams that are, in the middle of the conference down there in the Dallas area. So all in all, it was a good trip. I think some of the newcomers really did a nice job for us, and some of the veterans did a nice job. So all in all, I think it was a pretty successful trip. I think it proved to them that we can play with anybody. When we play, we get some dominant pitching and play some routine defense and get a couple timely hits, we can compete with anybody.
Okay, so some things that we need to work on and focus on for the next few weeks before conference starts is just gelling as a team. We have a lot of young players that are starting and that we've never played together before, so just practicing a lot more, and the games that we're going to play this weekend in Arizona will help us.
That's all for tonight. Make sure to tweet us your thoughts to @PLUMast. Read about these stories and more on the Mast Stands tomorrow. I'm Dylan Foreman. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.